Okay, everybody ready? Or am I good?
I think you're good.
All right, great. So welcome everybody. So my presentation is on parallax scrolling. So what is parallax scrolling? So the parallax effect is what occurs when you have different layers and you have kind of like the layers that are further out move slower than the layers that are closer to the screen. So the classic example of it is in Mario, as you can see right here. And so people have adapted this kind of effect to make websites a little bit more interesting. So here are some examples of it. So this is kind of like just a very classical example. As you're scrolling through, things are moving at different speeds. Some are slower and faster. And here's another example. And so this is it being used in, it's the same effect, but it's being used for more of storytelling, for kind of like to like communicate an idea in a more interactive way. And so these are kind of common uses for it. And another example is that sometimes the same effect is used to create more immersive slideshows. All right. So the parallax effect, the entire scrolling effect can be implemented with the Scroller.js library. This is actually more than just parallax because you're able to do any kind of animation that's based on scrolling. And what's really awesome about Scroller is that you can implement it using HTML, and you don't actually even need to know any HTML to implement Scroller. So here's kind of an example of the implementation of it. This is kind of a demo that they put together. So you can kind of see that it's really robust and you're able to do a lot of different cool things with it. And actually, all the previous web examples that I've shown you were also all implemented using Scroller. So how do you install it? It's pretty simple. You just put this part of the script at the kind of near the end of your body section. And for mobile support, you're going to want to add scroller body to the body ID. And the reason for that is that parallax scrolling doesn't really work very well on mobile. It's not very supported. So what they've done is kind of created pseudo scrolling, where as you're moving the kind of main element, it just kind of scrolls it. It simulates scrolling. So it's kind of like a hacky solution. You can read more into it if you want to support it on mobile. So demo time. All right. So I have a website here built using Jekyll. So if you want to know how to use Jekyll, check out Colin's presentation. So this is it's a pretty nice website, but I want to jazz it up a little bit. I want to add some parallax. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make this portion of it, I want to make it so that when I scroll to the top of it, that this text just disappears, so that we want to change the opacity of it. So how this works is that for scrolling in general, you have you have like so you have different keyframes. So the first keyframe is at the start of the document, and I want the element to be 100% opaque. And then once we've scrolled 500 pixels down, I want the element to be 0% opaque. So how this code will look is, first I have data 0. So this is when the element is at the top of the document. I want the opacity to be 1. And when it's 500 pixels down, I want the opacity to be 0. So this is kind of how it correlates together. So if we are implementing it, this would be how it would look. So this is just kind of the that entire element, or sorry, here it is. So this is that element right here. So I'm going to change the div tag out and just add it right here. And so once I do that, there we go. So you can see that this text starts to fade out as I get to the top. So that's really cool. But what else I want to do is kind of implement the classical parallax effect. So I want this background to be moving at a different pace than kind of the normal flow of the document. So for parallax, the background, farther layers that are out, you want to move slower. So kind of the same idea here. When I move down 500 pixels, I really only want the background to move, say, 300 pixels. So I've implemented the code right here. So this wrapper right here is this entire kind of background. And I want to make it so that, same thing right here, data 0. So right at the top, I want the background position to be, what is considered normal. And then when I've gone down 570 pixels, I want the position to just go down 300 pixels instead of what would normally be 570 pixels. So once I do that, you can see the background, and pretty simple. So that is parallax scrolling. And there's many different keyframes you can use, and you can all find these online right on here. And you can just find more about it on GitHub. And that's the end of the presentation.
That's super cool. I was expecting that to be wicked difficult, and it actually looks like it's incredibly easy. That's so cool.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Do you see any performance issues with it at all?
Nope. It's just CSS in JavaScript, so it's pretty simple, and it's used in all modern websites anyway. So if you don't really notice any effects, then you shouldn't notice it here.
Cool.
Oh, and it also doesn't even use jQuery, so it should be actually more performant.
Oh, nice. You should test it on Google Insights and see what happens.
Yeah.
If you don't add that mobile thing, does that just not have any parallax, and it's just kind of goes it treats it like it's a normal thing, or what's the default behavior?
So I think the default behavior was that it just doesn't scroll. So I think it breaks the site if you don't add that. So you should add that.
Fair
it took a while to debug that. Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. Anybody else have any other questions?
Okay, sweet.
Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. If you could paste the links to the example sometimes that would be super cool, because that'd be awesome to see you actually see that actual implementation. Cool. Colin, I think you're up.
Anybody else have a bunch of feedback?
Yeah, I will post the link for Scroller, and actually on the GitHub page, there's a section called In the Wild with a huge links of examples. But here it is anyways in the comments.